And so I don't really have a big introductory spiel prepared. I just wanted to thank our guest, Karyn Scott, who just randomly approached me several months ago with the offer to help out program participants with real estate related questions, and had just finished a class or some kind of training involving senior citizens. And so I appreciate your willingness to come on and share your knowledge. And maybe you can start by introducing yourself and giving a little bit of background, and then we can move forward. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks. I really appreciate your time, Zach. And thank you so much for coming today. As Zach mentioned, my name is Karyn Scott, and I ended up recently getting my senior real estate certification. I work for Howard Hanna. And so my job as a senior real estate agent, and also an agent in general, is to know a lot about the community. And so as far as seniors, my job is to know about a lot of different topics that are pertinent to seniors regarding the community, regarding different housing, just basic things in general that would be accommodating to your life, and then also to the community as a whole, whether you're thinking about staying here or thinking about moving. So I just asked Zach if there were certain topics that might be important to you, or just basic things that he wanted me to discuss. And so thank you so much. I don't know if any of you were involved in it, but Zach ended up giving me a sheet with questions. And so I ended up writing back to him saying the questions that I could answer. And then too, if you have any questions while I'm speaking, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm always happy to answer them, no matter what they're about. Real estate is very broad. So there's just so many facets to it. It's very interesting for a lot of different reasons. So again, I thank you for coming today, and I hope you learned something new. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. But what I was thinking might be easiest regarding the questions that I was given, I made a PowerPoint. So if I'm able to share my screen, if that's okay with you, Zach, then I can go through the questions. I've got a little bit about what a senior real estate agent does. And then please feel free to chime in anytime or at the very end. With me sharing the screen, I won't be able to see if anybody raises their hand. So if Zach, you can maybe, stop me if needed or something like that, or anybody can chime in. I just want this to be comfortable for everybody. And again, to participate as much as you want to. And if we get off topic and I do different, it doesn't matter to me. It's whatever's best for you. Okay.
That's fine by me. Given I have the basic Zoom type program. So I think that in order for you to share, I think that I have to make you the host, which is fine by me. Although that means if someone gets in the waiting room, you will have to let them in.
Okay.
So I think a little indicator will pop up and you just say, admit.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I'll do that. And then I'll watch if someone seems like they've got something they want to say, I'll chime in. Or, oh, okay. Joanne is not having any luck with her. I think I'm going to give her a call to try to troubleshoot with her, but okay. You guys can carry on. And let me make Karyn the
Thank
host.
You, Zach.
Sure.
All right.
All right. Joanne, you don't hear us at all? All right. Excuse me while I call.
And can everybody see this okay? Can you see everything okay, Zach? Yes? Okay, wonderful. All right. So again, my name is Karyn Scott. I'm a specialist for senior real estate and then also for military. Military because I was in the Air Force for 4.5 years. So I also know a lot about what it's like to be active duty, also to be a military spouse. So that's why I'm kind of a military specialist as well.
So Karyn, sorry, are you trying to share the PowerPoint now, or? Because,
yes, can you see it?
No, we don't see it. No.
Oh.
So go to share screen, and then several boxes should pop up, and you hit the one that's got the.
Uh-oh. I'm sorry. I've done this before and I've been all right.
Mhm.
So I see you in my upper corner. Okay.
Yeah, it
I
didn't,
did
it didn't,
invite for the share screen.
nothing changed for us.
Oh, here it comes.
Did that share, did that work?
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah.
Um,
So in the PowerPoint, I guess if you go to, yeah,
can you see this?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, wonderful. All right. Thanks for your patience. I appreciate it. So I like to start off with quotes. This says, the effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there is. I like to kind of break things up and then also think as positive as possible. So what is a senior real estate specialist? A senior real estate specialist, the title was created by the National Association of Realtors, which is abbreviated as NAR. And again, as I mentioned, we're specifically trained for the challenges and situations that clients age 50 and over face, which also includes family members. So a lot of times you'll have people whose children are maybe the power of attorney or they're helping out their parent. So that's, again, we typically help out people of all different ages, but typically if there's somebody who's 50 or above that's involved. One of the key things that we do is networking. And that's where we work with different estate planning if needed, tax counseling, aging services, mortgage lenders, attorneys, home inspectors, and contractors. What's important about my job too is to know that I wear many different hats, but I also need to know where my expertise ends. It's important where if somebody needs something special and they have questions about maybe a legal topic or maybe something with a home inspection or something maybe financially, I would direct them to their attorney, to their mortgage lender, to somebody who has that specific knowledge, because that knowledge is always changing and it's important for them to know straight hand from that profession. We're trained in no pressure approaches to
The
help
little
with
audio thing, the little microphone thing?
Oh, can you hear me okay?
No, I don't have that. I've just,
And so different topic examples include
Can't.
suggesting housing alternatives, whether you needed to have complete care or maybe partial care, or maybe even have somebody come to visit you and help you in home.
I can't.
Different ways that a senior may be able to age in place instead of downsizing or moving. And those are for people who really like their house and want to stay in that location, but maybe there's something they can do like add on or do a different apartment or, have a bedroom downstairs where it would be easy for them to stay at their current house instead of moving somewhere different. I do have information about that. And I did a presentation on that before, which was really interesting. But there's just many different possibilities as far as housing. And then also to identify senior resources in the communities that help people fit and feel like a part of the community, whether it's someplace that they're moving to or also someplace that they're living in currently, but they just want to meet up with different people their age, or they want to know different resources or different outreaches that they can be a part of. The first question that you had on your list that I wanted to address was, given a limited budget, how do I decide what to fix and what to let go? So I've got some different perspectives on this. If you think of your house as a whole and you're thinking about different exterior items, I know with the question you're talking about different things that are maybe cost effective, but what's important to know is that you've got a roof. To replace the whole entire roof is expensive, yes, but if you just need to do repair work, that's less expensive, and it's so important too to prevent leaks. With water, unfortunately, whether it's leaking in with seepage in your foundation or with your roof, water goes to the place of least resistance. It always travels downhill. So if you've got issues, a lot of times you won't notice it till later on, or sometimes it's evident right away. But if you need to repair your roof or even replace it, worst case scenario, that's definitely money well spent. Again, too, with your foundation, if you've got major cracks or you've got bowing in your foundation, those are issues that are more on the expensive side. But if you're thinking about your house as a whole, those are very important items to fix. and to take care of sooner rather than later, just so you don't run into future issues that would really be expensive down the road. A simple fix to a repair work might be to install gutters or to also clean those out. With gutters, again, with water, if you can get that water as far away from your property as possible, that'll definitely help you out in the long run. So something as simple as replacing gutters, repairing gutters, having routine maintenance to clean them is very essential and very important. So if you think about the elements in general, you think about rain, you think about where we live, you think about snow on your roof, you know, all those different elements really take a toll on your property. So if you can, again, do as much prep work as possible to protect your roof, to protect your foundation, to eliminate cracks, to eliminate debris from falling on the roof, those will definitely help you out in the future. And then if you think of more the interior features and the main buildup of your property, you think of the HVAC, which is the plumbing, and then also the air conditioning. I know a lot of people unfortunately had their pipes freeze this past winter. I'm not sure if that might have been you or not, but again, very important to make sure that your furnace is running. Now, you may not need to buy a whole new furnace, which is good because that might be $15,000. Those are very expensive. But if you just had that to have that maintained on a regular annual basis, that would be huge. So you know whether you need to get a new furnace filter, or you know whether you need to do simple repair work, or perhaps everything's working great, but at least you would have the peace of mind and not end up running into plumbing issues down the road. And again, too, during the winter is not the time to call. You want to do preventative maintenance, because during the winter is when they're getting emergency calls and when people actually have the leaks and, you know, the pipes that have burst. So they're not going to be able to come out and do routine maintenance. You're going to end up having to wait. So again, just kind of be prepared to do things earlier rather than later and be proactive. Electrical issues typically aren't that common, but again, it's just something you need to be mindful of with the big picture of your property. Again, if you just take care and focus on routine maintenance on your key properties and your key components, that's huge. And it'll end up saving you a lot of money in the long run too. Okay. And then the larger items that you can update or like remodel to get the best bang for your buck, if you're thinking about actually doing remodels, would be your kitchen. That's the main room in the house that ends up, even when I go and visit houses with clients or pricing a property, that's the main hub of the house. A lot of times people are still interested in an open floor plan. So maybe you've got the kitchen and you've got a larger area space where then you've got the family room and it's not so compartmentalized. Every house is so different. But again, the kitchen tends to be the hub. So if you've got nice cabinetry, or even if it's not that nice, you can always do something simple like paint it. Again, like paint can do wonders, whether it's on the interior walls, whether it's on your exterior walls. But I'll address something later too with painting, or I can mention it now. With painting, I would just encourage you to, it's nice to do things where you really like it. But if you really like pinks, or if you really like purples or blacks or certain colors that maybe are not like broadly appealing to the mass, I would think of definitely being a little bit more conservative. A lot of people like white walls or beige walls. You know, it's just something not that bright, and then they can decorate it with their own artwork or their own, you know, different decor. So again, I would go with something that's not as customized to you and maybe more general. You might not be thinking about selling anytime soon, but it might help you down the road. And then also too, if you do darker colors, a lot of times you have to do several coats of primer and then paint. So it's a lot to touch up and then redo with another color. Bathrooms are another key component or a key property room that a lot of people look at. I would also, you know, recommend, instead of doing bright tile work or something that's very bold, a lot of people are looking at more just slate colors or lighter colors, something that's more neutral. So again, bathrooms too, if people see upgrades in there, as far as buyers go, they're typically pretty happy. The exterior of your property is also a great spot to spend some money on. A lot of people look at that and that's the first thing they see with your house. So you could do something simple too, as far as just painting your front door or painting shrubs by the property to have good curb appeal, or maybe planting some trees. I would just make sure too, when you're thinking about planting things, make sure you don't plant them too close to your foundation. Or if you do plant something closer, it's a smaller shrub. It's not a large tree where you might end up having damage to the foundation later on with roots, or trees that are going to grow up like pine trees, and then you're going to have a bunch of debris on your roof or in your gutters. So be mindful of that. And then also, again, just keep resale consideration in your mind. You might end up selling 5 years, 10 years, maybe never, but that's always a good thing to consider and have as like a keynote. Just simple updates again. Painting is always very simple. New lighting, very inexpensive and easy to do. Even just a lot of people, I find they have different lights in their house where the light bulbs are burnt out. Even if you just replace light bulbs, that's huge, and not even the fixture itself. If you refinish hardwood flooring, that can definitely add like a brand new look, a brand new crispness to your house. And also if you install flooring, a lot of times people are looking at laminate floor right now, which is easy to put down. It looks like the hardwood floor. It's also very easy to clean. It's very durable and relatively inexpensive. So that's something that's, kind of common right now as far as flooring, and people seem to really like it all around. I've never run into many people that have said, I really don't like that laminate flooring. Most people really like it, and it does look good, and it's very practical. You can replace countertops and also replacing appliances, just simple fixes, but they can make a big difference. And what's important to you is kind of where you're at in your life too, as far as simple fixes. It's really important to think about rugs. How much of a tripping hazard may they be? If you have a step up to another house, or steps in general, how much of a tripping hazard could they be? Should you install something non-stick? Would it be practical to install railings? Whether new railings in your hallway, railings in your shower, just to make sure you don't fall, just to give you more balance. Those are very important. Again, too, considering lighting, especially in the wintertime, it's dark. It's dark in the morning, it's dark early at night. So if you install exterior lighting, or you have brighter wattage of light bulbs, that can also help as far as safety goes exterior. And then also being indoors, just making sure you don't trip over something, making sure you're safe. You can also install ramps if needed outside to get into your property, and also to invest in maintenance services, whether they're helping out with lawn care or snow removal. If you have money saved up for this, these are just simple things that they can help you with, but to make sure that, to hopefully be proactive where you won't fall, or to also give you the opportunity to leave your house if you've got your driveway plowed, where you can go places if you'd like to in the wintertime or all throughout the year. At-home help services are also available. If you'd like to help, have them help clean your property inside or outside, also to come and take care of things, to just even have company. Those services are great to have, and they do vary in cost. You can also, I know what I do too, a lot of times is I'll just move my furniture sometimes. I'll move it to a different room. I might find that I don't use a piece of furniture, so I might sell it, or I might even give it away to somebody who can use it. And if you just go through your things, especially in the wintertime, you declutter, you organize things, and do things like that a little bit at a time, because a lot of times, things just add up. And if you don't need it, why not give it to somebody else? Or again, if you can maybe sell it for extra money, that's always an option too. Another question that somebody had is, what criteria should one follow in choosing a contractor, handyman service, or plumber? And what I like to do is always think about different people. I know when I speak to people, they want to give me the good, the bad, the ugly of people that they paid services for. So if you know of certain real estate agents, they've got, like for me, for example, I have a list of recommended contractors. A lot of people I've worked with directly, and then a lot of people have been recommended to me, saying that they did a really good job, Karyn. Oh, I'd recommend this person. So I have them on the list to hand out to people that would be helpful. I'm sure your neighbors or family friends, they would be able to help you too if you've got any questions about certain services. I'm not sure if many of you go online, but there's a lot of great places where you can just look for reviews on their website. You can just go to like general reviews online and make sure you look at those, because those are important and people do give feedback. Again, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's also important to think about longevity. If somebody's been in the business for a while and they've got good reviews and they're busy and you can see their work, a lot of times they'll hopefully do a good job for you. Reputations are huge and integrity is huge as well.
Karyn, I got a question for you.
Oh, yes, go ahead, Zach.
Well, Michelina wrote in the chats, she's got a couple
Yes.
questions here.
Sure.
She writes, can you provide us with the at-home services? The at-home help services, I guess. And she's also asking about gutter cleaners in Ithaca. She needs them now.
Sure. And with the at-home help services, it would just be, people that I found online. I don't have any recommendations for them right now, but I could provide a list of somebody that I found online, although I don't know how helpful that would be, just because I can't guarantee with 100% certainty that they would do a good job. But I do know some gutter cleaners, and I can send you that list, no problem. I'm happy to do that. And then hopefully they'd be able to come out sooner rather than later and help you out. No, that sounds good.
Okay. I can share that.
Thank you, Zach.
Mhm.
And then were there any other questions or anything too?
I don't see anything.
No? Okay. Well, I'll definitely send you that information and you can disperse it if that sounds good.
Sure. Yep. Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you, Zach. And thanks for the question. So again, thinking about cost, cheapest is not always the best option. A lot of times those are the people who might be fly by night, or they might do things quicker, or they might do a great job. You never know. Again, looking at their recommendations, looking at their reviews are huge. A lot of times too, you might think the people who are the most expensive might do the best job, but again, that's not always the case. But then again, a lot of people who charge more and they've been in the business for a while, they typically will do a good job. A lot of times they can do it more quickly and more efficiently. And they might even have bigger connections too, as far as distributors and getting materials. So they might be able to do things a lot quicker. Again, they've got good camaraderie. They're able to do things and be as productive as possible. Looking at qualifications or licensing is very important, especially if you're thinking about plumbers, people doing roofing, HVAC individuals, depending on what you need. If you've got something who's licensed, especially in your particular area, that's huge. And also knowing that they're going to do a good job. You don't want somebody who's fly by night, especially with major, mechanical repair work like those are. Asking questions, talking to them, having them come out to give a free estimate is always something that's important to do. And if they are a good reputable company, they should have no problem coming out and giving free estimates. Again, too, they might be on the busier side. So if you can be proactive and call them in advance, expecting to possibly have a wait, that would be very ideal, instead of calling them expecting them to come out tomorrow or to come out within a week. A lot of people, because materials, there's a delay with materials. There's also a shortage of employees right now. So the contractors may have the jobs and they may want to go out and be able to do them. They just don't have the manpower to get out there as soon as possible. So keep that in mind. Another question that somebody had was, some contractors and maintenance service providers are not as skilled or as honest as they might advertise. And some seem to try to short-change women clients and seniors in particular, either on fees or quality of work. What recourse does a client have in such situations? And it is so unfortunate. It's not uncommon for people to try to maybe scam people who are seniors or to just be dishonest in general. Again, it's such a shame, but things like that do happen. People a lot of times will come out and they might not finish a job, or they might not come out at all, but they might ask for money up front. So again, it's just important to, think if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. be proactive, do your research, make sure you're dealing with a professional who's going to be there, do the job in its entirety, and then they should be getting paid at the end, or maybe paid some up front and, getting paid the rest at the end. But again, if they've got good reviews, they're able to come out, they're answering your questions, they're getting back to you in a good amount of time, and actually returning your calls, that's huge. Again, just basically talking to people that you trust, your family, friends, neighbors, your real estate agent, who have dealt with these people before, and they can vouch that they're going to do a good job. And these are some different things that you can do. You can end up calling a services hotline here, and they're local. They investigate reports of abuse or neglect of adults. They help provide financial management, case management, and legal interventions necessary for the protection of at-risk adults. So you can go to this website here, or you can also call this number if you feel that you or maybe a friend's been taken advantage of, just so you can get help in the local area. And hopefully something like this never happens. But if it does, you do have resources and different nonprofits that can help. Oops, I'm sorry. I think I went back. There we are. Oops. And then also there's different housing resources too. The Office of the Aging can help you. Tompkins Community Action, INHS can also help, depending on what you need. And then also a lot of times it's financial help and qualifications as far as financial goes, but they can come out and they can have people do simple repair work. They can come out and again, you end up filling an application and they can come out and help you. So that might even be something that might be a possibility through Ithaca INHS, where you can end up having some jobs done free of charge or relatively inexpensively by having them come out and do repairs for you. And I do have the INHS contact information if that would be something that you might be interested in and have questions, so you can reach out to them directly. Another question that was asked is if I wanted to sell my house, but wanted to sell it under market value to a family who could, I'm sorry. There we are, I'm sorry. Okay.
Joanne, sorry,
Oh,
Joanne just put a question into the chat. What kind of insurance should a service provider have? And are there some services for which insurance is most important?
You know what? I don't know, because that's not my expertise as far as knowing what type of insurance that, somebody should have, but they should definitely have some kind of insurance. There are people who are certified as far as plumbers or licensed. Again, plumbers, HVAC, they should have that information that they could give you. There are also general handyman. They may or may not have insurance. There's a lot of people who are jack of all trades, where they do a lot of different, maybe smaller odds and ends jobs. A lot of them do not have insurance, but a lot of the larger companies do have insurance. But again, if you're looking for someone who's an electrician, who's a plumber, working on HVAC, they should be at least certified or licensed in their expertise.
And I would let me jump in. There is contractor insurance for, if you're having a room remodeled, something, an addition, something major like that, a roof probably, a smaller handyman who's painting or, doing the gutters, that, they're probably not going to have insurance, but, an established contractor would have that type of insurance.
Yes. And it's also important too, if you end up doing any remodeling or renovating or additions, if you end up checking in with your code enforcement officer or zoning, just to get a permit, that's something that might be necessary depending on your job. Again, if you're going to do additions or something major, you would check with them too, just to end up getting that permit and information that you might need from the code enforcement officer or the zoning officer. Were there any other questions too with that? No?
I don't see anything else, no.
Okay, thanks, Zach. But another question then too, and I'll just start again. I'm sorry about the interruptions. I had it on my other email and I just get alerts. But if I wanted to sell my house, but wanted to sell it under market value to a family who could get and sustain a mortgage for my asking amount, but not for market price levels, would I likely face obstacles from banks, realtors, or anyone else who has a monetary stake in high home prices? So there's different options. You can always do a private sale, and that would be where you would end up being the seller, and then you would have a buyer, and then you would end up going to an attorney, and you can end up having a private sale where everything's worked out and coordinated between both parties. And with that, it would just be a matter, again, of both parties agreeing on price, agreeing on contingencies, and then moving forward with that. You can also have a realtor represent a buyer. So it would kind of be like a for sale by owner, where you would end up being the seller and the real estate agent would end up drawing the contract as a for sale by owner. And that way, if only a real estate agent was involved and it was not listed on the MLS for everybody to see, then the real estate agent would typically end up getting paid about 3%. And then they would represent the buyer and everybody would coordinate everything. But again, that would end up not having to cost you as much money. It would just be half the amount. If you ended up listing a property on the MLS for the public to see with a real estate agent representing you as the seller, it would be 6%. So that would help, as far as fees go, you would agree upon price. When you have a real estate agent, typically they would tell you what the fair market value would be or what the current market would be. That would be a good ideal price range to sell your property, but that's always your choice. And what you agree to sell your property for is always your choice. You can end up doing it for over market value in between the price range or even lower than it. So it really, again, it's always your choice. It really doesn't matter as far as what you list it for. If you list it for what the current market value is, you've got the likelihood of selling it compared to listing it very high. But there's other ways too that you can help out somebody who doesn't have the finances to pay for the property. And that's also something called owner or seller financing. And that's where you would end up allowing them to pay you every month or however often you determined, and you would end up having a different interest rate. So they would pay you off in a certain amount of time to end up having the property. So you would kind of end up being a bank. So that's another way too that would be helpful, because a lot of times if somebody doesn't have, maybe good credit, or maybe they don't have a stable job, or maybe the loan that they're able to get is not very high from a financial institution, if the private seller or the owner is willing to owner or seller finance, then that's just a way that the buyer's able to, go and proceed with the sale of the property gradually, but be able to do that compared to trying to have a different interest rate from the loan or trying to get a conventional loan that may be a lot lower. And again, just remember that the realtor works for you. You're their client. And so whatever you want to do, they're there to help and support you. So whatever you wanted to sell the property for is always your choice. And the banks as well, it's always your choice as far as what you want to do. Does that make sense?
No, that's a whole lot of stuff that I have never heard about before. First of all, if we looking at the slide you have up there.
Yes.
So for sale by owner, you would hire a realtor, but the realtor is representing the buyer.
Yes, that's correct.
So how does the seller, how is the seller protected in terms of, I don't know what the legal things are involved in this.
Well, that being for sale by owner is definitely riskier compared to having an agent represent you. As far as for sale by owner, and I had this up here as far as the realtor representing the buyer, because that would be a way that people wouldn't have to pay all the realtor fees, because typically it's 6%. If the real estate agent only represented the buyer, then that would be 3%. So that would help accommodate and kind of offset some prices where the price might be a little bit cheaper that could be negotiated. And so with that, you could have a realtor could even be a dual agent, which is if both parties are in cohorts with each other, that works out very well. A dual agent.
Wait, what kind of an agent is that?
It's called the dual agent. And that's where Yeah, and that's where the real estate agent represents both the buyer and the seller, but that's typically done when the seller sells the property on the MLS and the agent already represents them in the first place. It
And
gets to
MLS means what?
that's the multiple listing service. And that's when you list it online through an agent, and then it goes up on the MLS for all the different local agents to see. And then the property is also advertised on the third-party sites like Zillow, Realtor.com, all of those sites for the general public to see
Okay.
that the
Okay,
property.
what
is
I'm
for sale.
concerned about is, I'm sure anybody here who's on this, who has a home, has gotten their assessment this year.
Yes.
And I look at the assessment, and I mean, I've been in contact with the assessment office over several years over assessments. And what they explained to me was that it's not whether or not your house really looks like the houses that are listed as comparable or has more repairs. It's how much the market is pushing people to sell or buy for.
Yes.
So my question, I guess, in part is, if I wanted to sell, if I knew a family that was looking for a house
Mhm.
and they couldn't possibly afford what the market is calling for, but they're reliable and they made an offer that, I would say was okay, and that they could get backing for, would a
Mhm.
real estate agent be less likely to represent me or the house, because it's not going to sell for as much and they're not going to get as much of a fee for it? In others, I can imagine a lot of kickback if a whole lot of people decided, screw this about the market, we're going to sell for what we think someone can really afford, because they're going to have thousands of dollars of repairs once they buy the house.
Sure.
I guess that's kind of what my question is. How does the real estate industry react to that kind of a decision?
Well, if you were thinking too, would you only, it sounds like you have a particular buyer in mind. Were you thinking it would be more of a private deal where you would just specifically have that buyer approach you and then you would come to an agreement? Or were you thinking about having, something where it would be mass advertised to everybody? And if that was the case, then you're going to have, more interest, more people visiting the property, and probably, offers that would end up being what the fair market value is right now.
Mhm. So if you wanted to do a private sale, so to speak,
Mhm.
are you saying it's better not to go through a real estate agent?
Private sales are totally fine. And two, again, if you've got a real estate agent involved and you wanted them to do the contract and everything, it would just be presented as like a for sale by owner. If you had a real estate agent represent you as the seller, you would have to have that listed on the MLS, or else that would affect, like, according to my license and everything, if I was working with you as the seller, I would have to have that advertised, because my brokerage needs to get, part of the commission and everything like that. So it would need to be advertised as a whole to the public. If you wanted to sell as for sale by owner and you just had a real estate agent represent a buyer, you could do that. Or you could even just have the buyer approach you, and you can coordinate amongst yourselves for a private sale, and you wouldn't even need to have a realtor involved. But as a real estate agent, part of my job, because everybody's different, but normally when you sell a property, you want to get the most bang for your buck and you want to get the highest financially. And then when you're a buyer, you want to get the best value. Although, of course, there's so many other things that come into play. Maybe you want to move sooner rather than later. Maybe, you want to, there's certain aspects that are important and significant to everybody. So that's always something that you need to take into consideration. But when you have a realtor come to your property, typically they do what's called a comparative market analysis. And that's when they go through.
You've already answered my question, actually. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank
Sure.
you.
I hope I did okay. But you can, if you wanted to have a private sale, that's totally fine. But again, when you have a real estate agent, typically a seller would like to have as much money as possible. So I would just come in and give a range of what the market value would be as far as what the property should sell for in that market. But it's always the seller's choice as far as how much they wanted to list the property for, whether it was more than that, in that range, or even less. It's always their choice. And even with the offers, if they wanted to accept an offer, that was significantly lower than another one, for whatever reason, that's always their choice.
So there's a couple questions lined up here.
Oh, sure.
Charlotte asked, what if you wanted to sell your house as is?
Mhm.
Guess without doing all the improvements, just what's the implications of doing it that way?
Yes, and you can totally do that too. A lot of people are doing that right now. There's actually a lot of people who are investors who are selling rental properties right now. It's been hard for landlords and then also renters because there was a moratorium where tenants didn't need to pay. So a lot of landlords didn't get rent, and then a lot of tenants unfortunately left properties in a little bit of a disarray. So a lot of properties, not just because they were rentals, but just in general too, are being sold as is, which typically means that you would take into consideration that it's being priced a little bit lower because maybe it needs more expensive fixes, like it might need a new roof or it might need a new foundation, or you just don't want to do any repair work. There's typical times during a transaction after it's accepted where you would have negotiations. Right before a contract is accepted, it's not uncommon to have negotiations once you have a buyer submit the purchase offer. Again, have the buyer and seller go back and forth, maybe depending, like discussing price, discussing, different times for the contingencies. And then typically, but not always, there's a home inspection that's done. And after the home inspector comes, they go through the property and they tell you the good, the bad, the ugly. They'll give you a report about 50 pages. And then they'll also come there for about 3.5 to 4 hours, and they're representing the buyers. So then they come back to the buyers and they tell them what they found. Of course, they're not going to find everything. They're only there for a couple hours, and it's also very seasonal. They're going to miss things, but they're also going to point out a lot of stuff. If you're selling your property as is, that typically means after the home inspection is done, that you're not planning on negotiating. That, this is the way the house is. You might find thousands and thousands of dollars of repairs that are needed, but this is how I'm selling the property. And you're going to know as the buyer, when you buy it, then that repair work is going to be yours, whether you need to have it done now, or maybe it's just cosmetic or whatever the need is.
So they cannot sue you afterward, after the fact.
No, they wouldn't sue you. It's just, again, selling as is. And that's actually common nowadays because there's a lot of people who just don't have the finances to upgrade. They just don't want to, or whatever their reason is. They just sell it as is. And if everybody can agree upon that, they just keep moving forward with the transaction.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So the next question is from Miguelina. Question is, there are many new buildings in Ithaca, not INHS. Are any of those apartments reserved for low-income senior citizens? And when property taxes are higher than my fixed income, is that an indicator to sell my house?
Oh, good questions. And thanks for all the questions so far. And I hope I'm answering them okay for you. I do know there's a lot of INH housing that's going up. They are typically income dependent. I don't know about age dependent though. I did hear too through the Office of the Aging, I'm under the impression, although I don't know with 100% certainty, but it sounds like they're going to be building housing that's specific to seniors. So that's always huge. There's a whole lot of new building that's going on in the city of Ithaca, and even in the town of Ithaca. There's a lot of changes regarding rental stipulations. There's just a lot going on with housing in general. Property taxes are hard for a lot of people, and where we live, if all of you are from Tompkins County, taxes here are very high. If you go to Tioga County or even Portland County, they're a lot lower than what they are here. So taxes there, it's hard. There's no doubt about it. And it's just a matter of, I think, giving and taking. I know it's so hard when you're on a fixed income. Properties are going to only assess higher. Assessments are different than appraisals. Appraisals are, more of like a CMA, what your property would sell for in this market. Assessments is what you pay taxes on, and that's more done by the municipality. So typically during the years, your assessments go up. But again, appraisals are different than assessments as far as appraisals, more the true value of the house at that time. So yes, it is really hard. With taxes, they're going to keep going up. Mortgage rates are going to keep going up, and with inflation in general, everybody's got their own situation. But but it is really unfortunate and tricky sometimes if you are on a fixed income.
Can I just go back to my first question about the new buildings? So
Mhm.
there are a lot of new buildings coming up in Ithaca. Okay,
Yes.
so in some states, they are the federal government requires these new home builders or apartment builders to
Mhm.
reserve a certain percentage of those apartments for senior citizens or low income. They may just be like 1 or 2 apartments that are available, you know, from that particular building, but
Yes.
it's something. So I don't know which of those buildings, or if in fact we have any of that in Ithaca.
And I honestly don't know either with the new builds. With INHS, I could check in with them directly, or if you
Yeah,
wanted.
these are not INHS apartments. I'm
It's just the different
specifically
ones.
talking about non-INHS apartments,
Mhm.
okay?
Mhm.
So there's that, because I know that in other states, they do have that, where maybe 1 or 2 apartments are reserved for low income within that specific building.
Yes.
Or maybe they have 1 apartment reserved for a senior citizen, you know, something like that. And also, my second question is, okay, well, we already know that taxes are going really high and whatever. But
Mhm.
for me, if I'm on a fixed income and I see, okay, well, I can't pay my taxes anymore, then what do I do? So is that the time where I say, okay, I'm just gonna have to sell this house, you know? So what do I do?
You know what? Everybody's options are so different, and everyone's situation is so different. I mean, you could sell and you could downsize, you could move to a different county, you could move to a different state, you could end up having maybe somebody move in with you know, to help compensate prices or to help share, you know, with financial burdens. You know, there's different options, and there's everybody's got their own ideal situation, but it is really hard. You know, where we live, taxes are high, with inflation, just everything going up. It's difficult, especially when you're on a fixed income. And even too, thinking about here where we live in Ithaca, rentals. You know, the rental market is very hard too, as far as, you know, finding a rental property, and then also you're going to pay top dollar as well. So it's
Yes.
difficult. Even if you move, with it being a seller's market right now, you know, no matter where you move nationwide, you might have a difficult time finding a property. The cost of living elsewhere might be cheaper for you, which would be fantastic, you know, but maybe you don't want to move. And so it just, there's so many different facets that are involved, and things are so complicated. And then everybody has their own ideal situation. I wish I had the best answer for you. You know, if you do enjoy where you live and you've got the ability to, you know, maybe share with a friend or do something of that sort, or downsize, that's a possibility again too. But, you know, if you end up selling, it might be hard for you to find a property to move in right away, just because there are so many buyers out there compared to people who are selling. And it's never a good feeling to feel rushed.
Mhm. Yeah,
I'm sorry. I wish I had a good answer for you. It's a tough situation. It really is.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And too, even about the new buildings, I honestly don't know if there is a ratio. And if so, you know, what that might be as far as, you know, certain age group or income level or criteria that goes along with it. There are a lot of new buildings. It seems like they're going up everywhere, but I just don't know any details about those.
Yeah.
Karyn? Go ahead, Miguelina, sorry.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
I was going to say, in relationship to what Miguelina is asking, most of these properties will have that do have so-called affordable housing.
Yes.
They're using a median income as meaning affordable. And I've been trying to look up exactly what that is. And I mean, I did it online, and it said in 2020 that in Tompkins County, that was $30,080. And that in Ithaca, it was $16,049, which I cannot believe. I know that's not true. And I was wondering if you have, I mean, that must be out of date, if you have data as to what is considered the median income in this city as well as in the county?
You know what, I've got some great resources that I can look up information on it. It talks about, the number of renters versus homeowners, the median income. It's got a lot of really interesting information that's specific to certain areas. So I can definitely, whether I send it to Zach and he, distributes it to whoever might be interested in it. But I definitely have information that I can share. I don't know what the numbers are offhand, but I can provide that for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to pass along any information.
Thanks,
Back
I
and
think-
forth, we can keep a conversation going.
Yeah,
Sure.
because Miguelina, that's part of the issue. When they say that they're providing things for lower income, they're talking about a percentage of the median income. And
Mhm.
that sometimes is far more than what people are making on social. Security.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know how renters in Ithaca are paying for their apartments, because whenever I look at the price of rent, it is ridiculously high. And I don't know who's making all that money.
There are also a lot of Section 8 renters too, where they end up having set amounts that they pay, and then Section 8 helps them with that. I do know the waiting list is long to get on it. I don't know what the criteria is regarding income or anything of that sort, but that is also a possibility for some people.
Mhm. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Karen, and this is related to that same question.
Go ahead, Joanne.
Part of the question, and Miguelina, I think you've indicated this sometimes in other Zooms I've been on with you,
Mhm.
is you have your house, like for instance, right now, my mortgage payment is far less than almost any apartment that I would be able to find that would have the equivalent space. Okay, it would be far less. And so I say, well, what's the point in even thinking of moving out
Exactly.
and selling the house? But on the other hand, I don't have a really good sense. Well, I mean, I could just live here and let the house rot is what I could do, right? And then I would know what my income and my output is going to be. Sorry about the dog. But stop. But on the other hand, if I want the house to be more livable or safer, then there's the question of what you have to invest in order to have the house do that, whether it's putting in new windows or fixing the kitchen or painting the house or whatever. And that's really hard to figure out. And, if I add those things into my mortgage, is it in fact going to be equivalent to what the average rental might be? And that's really harder. And I was wondering if you have any advice as to how to figure that out.
Yeah.
And I mean, since we're older, I have no interest in the resale value of my house. That is not what concerns me at all. But we're older, so we have less years for making those investments. And yet at the same time, we want to live, in a decent surrounding.
Yes.
So
I would say definitely, if you don't need to move and you like where you're at, the most that you can do to just upkeep it, as far as, the main items that I spoke about, just making sure those have integrity and the longevity. And even if it's not replacing them, just making sure repair work's done as soon as possible. As soon as possible. I don't know what your, situation too is, Joanne, whether, you could help compensate financials by having somebody else live with you, or, if you've got an area where you can rent a room. I know that's very common here, sharing the house, no, okay. There's a lot of situations where some people are open to them, and then others are totally not. I know some people who rent out different rooms of their house, or they've got shared rooms for people. It's all kind of what your comfort level is, what your needs are. But if you're happy with where you're at, you don't need, I wouldn't worry about cosmetic fixes or anything like that if you don't want to invest money into them. It would just be more of the main items, just to make sure, again, that they've got the integrity that your house will last, and that you don't run into a bunch of other problems that stem from it that end up being expensive in the end.
Yeah, that's true. Every time something breaks down, I hurry up to fix it. Before it becomes a bigger problem.
That's good. Just like having a car, it's just routine maintenance, just to make sure you take care of it the best that you can. And sometimes, you're in the financial state where you can do it, or maybe some repair work you can do yourself. And then other times there's not, and you just need to save for it, or, maybe just have it on the priority list, but it's maybe near the bottom, and, it takes 6 months to get that done or a year to get it done, but it'll get done eventually.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm kind of, giving you the answers that you're looking for.
Is that,
I don't, there's never a right or wrong answer. It's just different for every person and what their needs are. And that's what's really the most important thing, is what's best for you now, or even thinking about the future, and your situation.
I'm gonna go back to that private sales information you gave us.
Sure.
So I'm thinking, oh, I don't know how to do this. Let's say I die tomorrow, whatever, or, something like that. And I just want to make sure that that one of my daughters get, or both of them, they get the house. But I don't want it to be stuck in a probate or in a court or something like that. What is it that I need to do to make that happen fast for them?
Well, I am not a lawyer, of course, but I would definitely speak with your attorney. It's so important to have power of attorney written down, and also what you want done. I've spoken to people before that unfortunately, their parents passed away and they had siblings, and nothing was in their will as far as what needed to be done. So when that happens, there's different things that can happen with the property, but there's always a lot of waiting. And I think the more detailed that you can be, the better, because I've seen a lot of families, my parents included even, where their parents' wills were not made out and very clear. And so it just leads to tension. It led to, just arguments among siblings. Again, a lot of waiting, a lot of uncertainty. But if things are clear cut, where you say, you want your daughter to do this, you want, your other daughter to be in charge of the house, whatever needs to be done, so they can start preparing things. Although, of course, they're going to be, the whole situation is unfortunate. You don't want to think about it, but it's inevitable for all of us. So it's just something that you do need to keep in mind. It's important for you to speak with your daughters about it and your wishes. And then also, again, to reach out to an attorney to start the whole process of getting a will done, and any other information that you need to accomplish regarding your house, because that is a huge financial asset that you have. And it's going to be a big responsibility, for your children or whoever ends up being the power of attorney, and what they end up doing with it.
Well, power of attorney ends at the death of the person that gives the power of attorney. So you would have to set up a will.
Yeah, and there are powers of attorneys that even help people who are living, if they have dementia or,
Right,
depending
yeah.
on their situation.
That's what it is for.
Yes, yes,
mostly.
for them to work.
But when the person dies, the power of its attorney is finished. You can't touch a bank account, you can't do anything with it. As soon as the person dies in whose name the power of attorney has been extended, that's the end of it. So you have to make sure, if you want things to go to certain persons, that you have a will and it's signed by everybody.
Yes, very important to have a will, and speak to your attorney, because they'll give you all the details about that. I'm not an attorney. I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know even the basics about it, but they're the professionals. They would be able to tell you exactly what to do, how to tie up loose ends to make sure everything goes, again, horrible, like sad to think about the circumstances, but, to make sure that everything goes as smoothly as possible with the transition for everybody that's involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I think to set up a will, I think it's $300 with the attorney. Like we've been through that a couple of years ago. So, yeah.
With or without an attorney?
I'm sorry?
Charlotte, with or without an attorney?
No, that would be with an attorney.
Yeah.
The attorney charges the fee.
Yes.
Yeah, there are a couple of what do they call it? Not senior law, elder law
Sure.
attorneys in the area. I've been to a couple by two different lawyers, but from the same company that I've been to presentations by them that were terrific. So Miguelina, I don't have the name of the company off in my head right now, but I can look that up and let you know.
Oh,
I'm
yes,
making an
please.
appointment soon myself.
Okay, I would welcome that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joanne.
So did we work our way through the questions that were
Yes,
pre-sent to you?
that was, yeah, that was, it was just another quote and that was it. So we went through everything. And then some.
Well, yeah, we covered a lot of territory there. Maybe we should wrap it up there.
That sounds good.
I really appreciate your time and your knowledge, and it's great to, I don't know. I haven't thought about a lot of this stuff, and some of the other folks here, maybe it's a little more immediate, but I appreciate you reaching out. And if you can, I think I saw you take some notes. If you want to extend, share whatever you come back with me, I'm happy to share with the people that are a part of this Zoom.
Yeah, thank you very much, Zach. I appreciate it. I'll definitely send you those resources. And if anybody has any, additional questions, whether they want to go through you or reach out to me directly, whatever's best, I'm happy to get them the information that they need.
Do you want to share your email? Or,
Oh, sure. Do you want me to say what it is or?
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sure. It's Karyn Scott. It's Karyn. My parents try to be unique. So it's KarynScott at howardhanna.com. And Howard Hanna is HOWARDHANNA.com, real estate company.
Okay, I have to go, but thank you. This has been very helpful.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you very
Thank you for
much.
sharing too and your great questions. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. So much. Enjoy your week. Bye.
Bye.